Lesson 36. We continue with the philosophy of the Kleshas from the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, chapter 2, and we have arrived at Sutra 16. This is one of my favorites. The misery which is not yet come can and is to be avoided. What Patanjali here is saying is that after everything that you've learned, after the transformation that you have gone through as a result of your yoga practice, developing consciousness, awareness, self-knowledge, self-insight, basically what he's saying is, if still you suffer misery, you're stupid. The misery that has not come can and must be avoided. Everybody's suffering misery time and time again. Why? Out of ignorance. We don't know. We are not aware that we are responsible for this misery. We are attracting this misery. That is what the Kleshas is about. There is a samskara in us, that is our karma. It's dormant. Something triggers it, it comes alive, it starts to have a certain vibration. That vibration attracts a similar vibration from the environment, which is the klesha that then visits you, the misery, the conflict that you then experience. This happens to people because they are not aware that it works like this. We are aware now how it works. We are also more and more becoming conscious of ourselves, our functioning in daily life, social situations. We become more and more observant. We observe how other people behave, but also how we behave. Every time we find ourselves in a situation that is undesirable, we reflect on that. We draw conclusions from that. We learn from that. It is only logical that as a result of this development, these developments taking place in you, you start to see patterns. You start to see misery before it has happened. You start to see a conflict before it is even taking place. And when you can see that, you can choose to not allow it to happen. Sounds easier, but it's easier said than done because it requires self-control. You have this karma in you. You have this tendency in you. So when something happens, it's triggered, and if you don't pay attention, you will react. You will act in a certain way that is unique to you. Now you are aware of it, you feel something inside you, something restless, something whirling, something about to explode, and you say, no, I'm not going to let it happen. I will control myself. And because you control yourself, you have an avalanche of things that is normally occurring as a result of our actions is then stopped in its tracks. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to take place. Try to imagine how you feel, how great you will feel when you realize that you can control this. Remember, try to imagine how you feel now that you know all this, that you let it happen anyway, because of an emotion. How do you feel? Oh, I'm so stupid. I knew it. I could have avoided it. And I did it again. I allowed it to happen again. Feel stupid just for a short moment, and then just promise yourself, next time I will try to control it. Next time I will not let it happen. That's one aspect of this sutra. Another aspect is, many accidents happen because we're not paying attention, because we're multitasking, because we're busy with other things while we actually should. You know, if you look at the statistics, since human beings started driving cars, there have always been accidents and people dying from car accidents. In the beginning, like 120 years ago, the number of death, the death rate per capita was very high. So the car manufacturers improved the cars and the safety of the cars. The governments improved the infrastructure, the roads. They invented traffic rules. They have separated pedestrians and bicycles and cars in separate lanes. So if you look back 120 years ago to about 20 years ago, the death rate, if you look at the chart, the chart, you see that the death rate was declining more and more. For 100 years, the death rate has been declining until the mobile phone was invented. It is only since a couple of years that after almost 120 years of decline, the death rate starts to increase again. And most of the accidents are caused by people who are trying to send a text message while driving, or even calling on the phone, talking on the phone while driving. Research shows that while driving, being on your mobile phone leads to behavior that is very similar to people who are drunk behind the wheel. So it's very dangerous. So if you know that, do you drive? I drive. I never touch my phone. But the thing, it's very tricky, because when your phone pings, when there is a notification sound, your ego comes into play. Your ego wants to know, oh, my phone, somebody wants to talk with me. And you cannot control your urge to grab your phone and read. And you can control that. You hear the phone, you look at it, and you say, I will take care of it when I'm at the gas station, or I will take care of it when I arrive at the supermarket. I'm not going to touch it now. People can't control it because of ego. Can you imagine how this works? That is why it's such a big problem. And governments are frustrated. For more than 100 years, they've done everything to reduce the number of deaths in traffic. And cars still become safer. With electronics and what have you, smart technology, the roads do become safer. And yet, the number of deaths per capita is increasing since a couple of years because of the mobile phone. The misery that has not come can and must be avoided simply means don't do things that you know are dangerous. That is, of course, drunk driving, but a simple thing, a daily activity. The mobile phone is now one of the most important elements in people's lives. Just leave it for the duration that you are driving. When you cross the road also, I always observe people. I enjoy observing people. I often see people crossing the road just because the light is green. But they're not paying attention to the traffic. And often they are in their phone, sometimes watching a TV program or a YouTube video or texting. And I think, oh my goodness. They don't feel danger, they don't feel unsafe. They just walk just because the light is green. My head is on a swivel when I cross the road, always. Left, right, until I'm on the other side. Because of that, I never get hit by a car. The misery that has not come can and must be avoided. We think that multitasking is a good quality, right? That's the world that we live in today. I tried multitasking. You know what happens when I multitask? Everything that I do, the result of everything that I do is not good, is mediocre. You know the word mediocre? Mediocre. If I focus on one thing at a time, the result is good. It's almost perfect. That's the quality of a yogi. Even more, as a yogi, I think you will find it increasingly impossible to multitask. Why? Because it makes you disturbed. In Korea, you would say 정신없어요. It makes you feel 정신없어요. If you focus on one thing at a time, not only the quality of your work is really good, it's like a meditation. It's meditative. But if you multitask, it's very disrupting, very disturbing. It makes you feel very restless. And the quality of the result of the work that you do when you're multitasking is mediocre. So it's not such a good thing after all, if you understand. If you care also. Disease. Most disease can be avoided. When we're young, we look at old people, and old people get more and more sick. When you go to the pharmacy, you see mainly people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and they all come out of the pharmacy with a bag, a plastic bag full of medicine. Aging, we think it is unavoidable. Is it? Maybe we even think, well, they are all sick, but when I get old, I will stay healthy. That is possible, if you take care of yourself. If you control yourself. Aging is something you cannot avoid, but there are people who feel very old while they are only 45 years old. There are people who are old, 80 years old, and they feel like as if they are 50. What is the difference? They take good care of themselves. They eat healthy food. They exercise regularly. They enjoy their lives. And the people that are 45 years old and feel like 80, they have no control. They eat whatever they want, and they never exercise, and they drink a lot, and they smoke a lot, and well, I'm exaggerating, of course. But when you cross the age of 50, and you've had a life without any control, without taking care of yourself, after 50 your body starts to fall apart. You get all kinds of diseases, and you die. Take care of yourself, you cross 50, you get older, you feel you get older, but you're still healthy. And you still have no diseases like other people have your age. The misery that has not come can and must be avoided. As a yogi, you know there will be a day that I will get old. If I start taking care of myself once I'm old, it's too late. Of course, you can say better late than never. That is true. But if you had taken care before, you would have avoided a lot of misery. You know, Even if I have just a flu with momsal, that my muscles ache and feel so tired, I feel so miserable. I hate being sick. Then I try to imagine, how will it be if I get a serious disease? I'd rather not be alive if I have to suffer from serious disease. It's so miserable. I just can't imagine. So I'd rather take care of myself and avoid even getting sick. Easier said than done, I know. But yoga makes us aware of the fact that aging cannot be avoided. You might as well try to do it as best as you can. So that still at a high age you can still enjoy feeling healthy and happy. Still enjoy being able to enjoy life. That is what this sutra means. People are like sheep. They just go with the flow. They have no discipline. They have no control. They dutifully do what they are expected to do. Working, taking care of family. But then they don't feel the need to take care of themselves with an eye towards the future. Because they don't know. Ignorance is the first of the Kleshas that leads to all the misery that comes after it. Sutra 17. The cause of that which is to be avoided is the union of the seer and the seen. This is about ego and identifying with emotions. When you find yourself in a situation where somebody makes you angry, the normal reaction is to go to the same level and be angry. So a fight occurs. Usually verbally, but it can also end up becoming physical. That is normal human behavior. There is an emotion, and you just go with the emotion. So one moment, somebody does something that makes you happy, and you laugh. Somebody then does something that makes you angry, and you become aggressive. Then somebody does something, maybe something insulting, that makes you sad, and you cry. That is human behavior. But it is the reason for our instability. It's the reason for our suffering. What Patanjali is suggesting here is that you try to separate the seer from the seen, the ego from the situation. And that is what you naturally do as a meditative person. You have the ability to take a step back from the situation and rationalize it. You can't avoid the trigger. You can't avoid the emotion. You can't avoid that the ego has a tendency to identify and cause you to feel emotional. But then, quickly, you switch into another mode. You switch into a mode of contemplation where you look at yourself and you look at the situation that you are in a rational way. And when you see the essence of what is going on, the reason for the emotion is taken away. It simply gives you some information about the situation or about the person that is causing the situation. And you draw conclusions from that and you will take action accordingly, but rationally. Instead of going along with the emotion, you will stay calm and controlled and you will act in a rational way, in a way that will help you to preserve your peace of mind, your sattva. Now, in the second paragraph, I wrote an important distinction. And the first sentence, let me just read it. The identification of the seer with the seen is something other, something different than the unification of the two. Let there be no confusion about that. Identification is mental. The identification occurs because of ego. You identify with the situation, but that is a mental process. A thought, emotion is a thought loaded with ego, always. So if you can leave the ego out, you only have the rational thought, the observation, without all the misery and instability that an emotion would cause. So if an emotion is triggered, you quickly go into another mode where you take distance and observe rationally what is going on. The unification, that is something different. While the identification is mental, unification is causal in the crown chakra. That is where you have deep insight. Unification with an issue that can be material, it can be at work, but here we are talking about conflict situations that lead to emotions. Unification with the situation allows you to come to the essence of what is happening. And I refer again to the situation in the subway where I was pushed out of the way. The first reaction is the identification. Oh, I'm being pushed away. How rude, how violent, how unfair. But then I unify. Unification with the situation occurs. And I see the whole situation. And I feel the person's heart. I feel the person's essence. And I understand that she can't help it. That it is karma. That it is something that happened 30, 40 years ago. That led to that behavior, and that it was behavior that was designed to survive a terrible war and famine. That is unification with the situation, allows you to see the essence of what is going on. You can't be angry anymore. It doesn't make it right what she's doing or he is doing, but when you understand it, you don't have to be emotional about it, and you shrug your shoulders and you try to find another seat. That is what this means. You know, maybe your mom or your grandmom would tell you when you get angry as a child, hold on, count to 10. Take a deep breath, count to 10. That is, in a very short way, in a very simple way, what you learn with yoga. When you get very emotional, you count to 10 and you take a deep breath. It allows you that moment to take a step back from the situation and rationalize it. Sutra 18, the seen, the objective side of manifestation, consists of the elements and sense organs, is the nature of cognition, activity, and stability, and has for its purpose providing the Purusha with experience and liberation. Now this sounds very complex and complicated, and what follows is kind of a technical explanation. Don't get a headache from this, because this sutra also has a very practical value. First of all, the sutra says, in my words, everything is just energy. Energy fluctuates. When something is tamas, it will manifest in a different way than when it is rajas. And again, it will manifest in a different way when it is sattva. Just look at yourself as a human being. When you're in tamas, you'll be lazy. You'll be very you will have a tendency to be dark and have negative thoughts and maybe even depressed. When you're rajas, however, you're like a ping pong ball. You're full of energy. You're all over the place with your body and with your mind. Active. And when you're in sattva, you're full of energy. You're shining, but very calm and peaceful. That is what this sutra means. So this does not only apply to human beings, it applies to the whole world. The whole material world exists out of a mix of rajas, tamas, and sattva. So that's just information. But it means everything, in the end, the essence, everything is energy. Just that. And then it says, then Patanjali says, the purpose of all this is providing Purusha, the soul, your soul, with experience and liberation. That is a good news message. The world around us and everything that we experience since we were born is designed to provide our soul with experience and liberation. The suggestion here is that without experiencing life, and that includes, and maybe especially so, our negative experiences, our traumas, our painful experiences, they are not designed to just hurt us and make us suffer. They are designed to teach us. They are designed to bring out the best qualities in us. Qualities that wouldn't manifest, qualities that we wouldn't express if we hadn't had those experiences. So I say the world is your playground. Play. We get hurt as long as we play without consciousness. But we are yogis now, we have developed consciousness, the power of discrimination. So we start doing everything in life from now on consciously. And that is the fuel for huge transformation, development and growth. From the moment that you start on the path of yoga until the day that you die, you will be on a very dynamic path of growth and development. If you look back 10 years from now, you will see how much you have evolved. And you look at the people around you, and you see that they haven't evolved much at all in those 10 years that you have evolved a lot. You will see that all they did was just getting older, consolidating their position and what they have. But no development, no evolution, no growth. Everything in yoga is about consciousness. Remember that I explained the concept of bhoga? You remember what that means still? Many people think if you are a serious yogi, you are very limited. You don't eat meat anymore, you don't drink alcohol anymore, you don't go out partying anymore. You only practice asana and meditation. And no more enjoyment in life and what have you. That's what many people think about if you take spirituality serious. No, yoga doesn't say at all that you must live your life like that. Yoga says continue your life. Yoga says you're only human. Continue living your life, but no, now that you are conscious, there are many forms of suffering and misery that you had before that you can avoid. You like wine, you like beer? Keep drinking wine and beer if you're a yogi. But now pay attention. Do it consciously. Bhoga is the concept of enjoyment, but consciously. So you like beer? Drink beer. But if it starts making you feel bad, which it does after 3 or 4 glasses, I think, you have to stop because nobody wants to feel bad. If you like French fries, eat French fries. But when it starts to bother you, that it becomes like a big fat clump in your stomach and it makes you tired, then stop. Bhoga is conscious enjoyment. That means you enjoy it until the point that it's not enjoyable anymore, and then you have the control to stop it. Yoga doesn't deny you all the pleasures of life. It just says do it consciously so that you know when it becomes harmful that you need to start to control it. And that applies to everything. That applies to relationships, to watching TV. When I started practicing yoga, I threw away my TV because it sucked my energy out. But I really enjoy watching things that I can choose. So Netflix for me is really a blessing. Before Netflix, I would just watch sports, news, and documentaries, and that's all. All the rest was just noise and distraction and sucking my energy out. But now I watch series, but I can choose which one I like, and they stimulate me, they inspire me. They're not sucking my energy. So enjoy, but do it consciously. And if it's bothering you, throw away your TV if that is sucking your energy out. I did that in the beginning, and it brought huge peace of mind to my life, which at that time was really important, really crucial. So play. Energy in the crown chakra doesn't make you a dull and boring person. It makes you a person that is much more alive, with joy, with happiness. Many, I've hired yoga teachers throughout the years, and when you hire somebody, you have to have an interview. The people think that when you're a yoga practitioner, you must be very calm and very relaxed. So what do they do when they talk to you? They do their eyes like this, and they say, oh yeah, man, I did this kind of yoga, and I did that kind of yoga, and I practiced for 5 years, and they talk like as if they've been smoking marijuana. Because they think that is how they should act as a yoga practitioner. I tell you the opposite is true. When you are a real yogi and you speak with fire. Because you speak with passion and compassion. It's the opposite as if compared to people that think that you must be very relaxed and very calm and they talk to you like as if they are drugged. That's just an idea. It must be like that. In the same way that people think that you cannot enjoy your life anymore when you choose to do yoga. No, you're much more alive than before. You're much more alive than other people. In a different way. You become very selective. You avoid everything that disturbs you or harms you, and you focus only on those things that really matter in your life. From another person's point of view, you may look like a very boring person. I am also a very boring person. I'm like a hermit, like Unduncha. But I'm happy. All the rest is just a distraction. Disturbing. Distracting. Why would you keep yourself busy with those kind of things? Focus on the essence of life. Your happiness and the purpose. My purpose in waking up every morning is to take care of my dogs, my partner, and myself. Without purpose, you wake up and you don't know what to do. That is what you have as a yogi. Purpose. And that drives you, and it gives you lots of energy, enthusiasm, all the things that most people are lacking. Passion, compassion, enthusiasm, inspiration is all in the crown chakra. Maybe you won't have a Porsche or a chai apartment, but you are happy inside. That is the big difference. Sutra 19. The stages of the gunas are the particular, the universal, the differentiated, and the undifferentiated. Now this is a bit boring, this is very technical. But what it means is that in a practical way, everything starts with a whirl of energy. You started as a whirl of energy. Before you manifested into a physical body, you started as a whirl of energy out there in the universe. And when that energy started to move, it slowly started to manifest. Your soul is energy, it starts to move, it manifests. That process is basically described here, but on a practical level, we talked a little bit about this in the first session today, that was in relation to misery. When maybe with the first sutra in the second session, where the misery that has not come can and must be avoided, people who are ignorant, they find themselves in misery when it has already happened. So they are in the first stage, the particular. And that is all they know. They cannot see more. They are not aware of anything more. The wise person recognizes a situation while it is still in the stage where it hasn't happened yet, where it hasn't manifested yet. You can intuitively, you can feel that something is going to happen. That is the power that you have as a yogi. Example that is a little bit bizarre, but it is a very clear example. In the 1930s in Europe, Nazism started to develop. It didn't start in 1940 with the Second World War, it started after the First World War. And especially in the 1930s, Nazism became stronger and stronger. Now, most people were not alarmed by what was happening. But there were Jewish people in the 1930s who left Germany and moved to England, for example, or they moved to the Middle East. They moved away from what was happening in Germany. Only a small percentage of people. What happened? They felt, intuitively they felt something was happening that was going to escalate, develop into something dangerous, life-threatening. They survived. All the other people who ignored the signals because they were not sensitive enough to catch the signals, to receive the vibrations, they stayed in place and they didn't survive. So any kind of situation, it's an extreme situation as an example, but any kind of situation that you encounter in life starts with a very subtle vibration that most people don't pick up. You'll be more and more capable, skillful at picking up those signals. And of course, it is then important that you do not ignore that. You know the concept of red flags? When you're in a situation where you find that everything went wrong, you often say to yourself, "Oh, I'm so stupid. I knew this was going to happen, but I ignored it." You saw the red flags, you saw the alarm bells ringing, But you ignored it because you were too busy with something else. Because you're too busy with pursuing your goal or your... Often in relationships, you fall in love with somebody, but somewhere in the back of your mind, you say, no, this is... this is not... I'm going to have conflict with this person. Nothing has happened yet, but you feel that there is the potential for conflict, for failure, for misery. Then, 2 years later, when you find yourself in the middle of misery, you say to yourself, I knew it. Why did I ignore it? Because we're only human. We're only human, and those experiences, the previous sutra told us, instead of feeling stupid, just try to learn something from it. It happened to you this time. Next time you try to avoid it by paying more attention. This sutra is telling us everything is developing in stages. Try to catch it as early as possible. And make it a play, make it a game. Life is like a playground. The world is like a playground. There will be another sutra next week, I think, that tells us exactly that. The world has been created for us to play. Not like fools, but to grow and develop. To reduce our misery. That's it for today. Questions? Interesting stuff, huh? All right, let's have a short break.